I went to the big thing in New York in 1982. You know, we had 1 million people in New York, and I got involved with the Peace Coalition in Princeton. It's the next town over, and they passed out something about this women's peace camp thing or whatever, and this big demonstration of women and whatnot, and I went along. That's about what first I heard of it. Yes, that was 1983, August, March. Where there were a couple thousand women, I guess it was. First time I ever saw civil disobedience. First time I ever bumped into Samoa, and saw all these. It was a horrible day because I was scared. There were so many all these cops and soldiers, and they looked like pigs because they had gas masks on and big, eye things. I said, I'm not going to hurt them. But they were there all along the road, and people were pointing flagpoles at us and, trying to stab us with flagpoles. I can't look at a flag since. I really can't. Wow. It scared the heck out of me. And all night, I guess, as I wrote it, there's something I wrote up on it, and I think I had my tent in Amazon Acres, and all night the helicopters were going over really low and loud, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was wonderful. But that weekend changed my whole life. That's when I met so many wonderful people and saw that you can do something more than write letters or call a congressman. You can do things. You can do theater. You could have good times with it. You can lean on each other. And that was important. And then I found a new friend there, a very good friend named Benjamin, who was a certain cat, who unfortunately he was referred to as Stumpy because the poor thing had no, he lost one paw. But he and I just connected under that tree near the driveway. And he just came and sat with me. I just started crying. And he was purring and rubbing his head. He just helped me to this great new birth, new energy. Peace camp energy. So I kept in touch with the camp. I'm ashamed to say, a lot of time, through Benjamin, I would send up some things, cash or whatever, that they could use for him, or for making it more comfortable for him. He was about my favorite peace camper. That particular, well, how long did I correspond with him? About 3 years you had him, or 4 years? Or I went back in October, United Nations Day, the 22nd, and we had a few groups from Princeton go down, and I climbed a fence, and I climbed, mind you, my favorite gate in the whole depot. All those gates in the fence is the truck gate. That's where the women's thing was that time in August, and we went back, and what gate? Truck gate. No way around it. There was no other gate for me. And it was horrible. It was a horrible experience, and I loved every minute. I loved every minute of out it was rainy and drizzly and whatnot. But I got to see Benjamin, and I got to see some wonderful people. And I went and climbed that fence and stayed in a cage for like 8 hours or 12 hours or something. Because we had to get there like 5:30 to blockade. Which was silly because nobody was coming anyway. I think they were all in there waiting. When I had been at the camp in August, I guess it was, I learned about affinity groups and taking the other person's role and seeing them as another human being with wants and needs, and being able to deal with soldiers. And it helped me a whole lot when I got there in October, because I couldn't get over the damn fence. It's not easy. It is not easy climbing, especially in hiking boots. And 2 pairs of socks, And there was a soldier there. He said, "Here, fall down. Just come down. I'll catch you." And he did. So he kind of walked me through it all. It was fun though. But you really started to hate people that you didn't like in the first place. Somebody in my affinity group was just uncooperative, and we had decided we're going to cooperate so we can get out of here. But she didn't, and so we left. Somebody stayed to take her. It was fun though. It was boring as all get out, sitting out there or standing out there. We didn't have any to sit on, and they brought around like lukewarm tea or something horrible. but I had a bunch of lifesavers, which I later gave to my soldier friend.
How big was your affinity group?
There were 6 of us, I believe. There were some people like myself, unconnected with anything else, and then there were some people from the seminary and a lawyer. She was on the outside looking in, so nothing happened. Support, right. And the head of the coalition was there doing support as well. I did, including the infamous Albany meeting, which almost killed a bunch of us, I'll tell you. That was 85. Yeah, and we held the meeting in Albany, and I went up unknowing, but I felt the camp was mine. It wasn't just Radical Dykes, it was mine, too. I think I was still married at that time, too. And it was my camp. And that's what it was set up to be for all women, no matter what their background or where they come from or who they are, just a place for women to be women. So it was a long, dreadful meeting. It was really long. Peace camp meetings, whenever I'd go to these meetings, they would be hours because we had to have consensus or this or that, or somebody didn't like that word or that comma, so we sort over. But Albany was even worse. Really was. There were people from all different sides and points of view, but somehow we got it down to the camp's going to keep going. I think it was an important step. It got so bad at the camp that they wouldn't let books written by men be in the library. And I brought it up that one of my letters, I said, look, megatonnage does not have a sex, it's just megatonnage, and, so should the literature be. Yeah, I felt bad. I felt funny going there, like maybe I had some kind of plague on me because I was married, I felt very unwanted or but Twilight talked me into going. Because I called and I said I wasn't going, and I got Twilight and she talked me into it. She said, we have to hear these things. The Peace Camp herstory is a lot of my herstory, I think, and I'm proud of it. I think in '83, I met some of the Nordic women that were coming through, and I got some names and whatnot and talked with them. And I wound up in '84 going as the representative from the camp to the Nordic Women's Peace Camp in Stockholm. And I took a month, and I went over there, and I was in Stockholm for the meeting. That was a week, I guess, and then I spent another week in Denmark and another week in the west of Sweden with somebody I met, and got to go around a little. All for peace. That it was still alive, and it was there, and it was very important. We've done some major things, and we're still protesting the transshipment point for the Pershing missiles coming over here. And we're sister to Greenham Common, etc. So it was good. It was good talk, and talking to like a woman from Bulgaria about what's going on there. So it was a give and take. We all talked about our local activities. I was also involved with WILF at the time and the coalition, so I had a few things going on. I don't know if you remember the Nordic women. They had these wonderful flowing gowns they put on, with white things and with colors on them. And they were all beautiful with long blonde hair. And that's how I became there, Estelle. I had long blonde hair and curvaceous like you wouldn't believe. It's the water. Yeah, so it was a very nice international thing to do, I must say. I kind of dropped off, I guess. It wasn't as... Remember in '83, they had a special weekend for different topics, and in '84 as well. But they didn't have that after that somehow. And there wasn't anything I could tap into as far as wanting to go there for something. It's a long ride for me. So it's like 5-6 hours, and just wasn't as attractive somehow, and not, I don't know if you were still there, or some of the people had changed, and I felt like I really would start over instead of connecting with other people. We did I don't know what year that was. What year was what was it, 6 Minutes to Midnight? That was '85. Yeah, I went up for that. That was another good one. I remember Sarah Atatimer. She was blind. She was Doreen's whatever. And walking with her, we walked all the way to the truck gate, not truck gate, the Q zone. I can't believe I did that. That's miles. But we made it. And Sarah asked if I'd hold her hand, and so she didn't get out in the road or anything. I just felt good, I was helping somebody, plus we were doing something so important. This was later. This was like the zapping time. And we were trying to figure out if the guards could hear us or anything, or if the house was bugged. And I remember you saying something that we were going to this gate or something, very loud and everything. And then we get out. She says, "No, we're going over. We're going behind the other farm." And we did. You and I and Judy. Only we were accompanied. We didn't realize until we were there. Jasmine the cat came with us. And Jasmine is not a quiet, nice little kitty cat. But we were like screwing with these people's heads because the cars were coming. They must have caught sight or heard that we were there or something. And the cars were coming and trucks and whatnot. We just ducked down. But we did get that damn sign. And that was the military working dog. Caution, this area patrolled by military working dogs. We got that sign and it started raining. I remember it was raining like hell, and we had to duck down behind this little hill in the mud and everything. And Jasmine got up on my shoulder and commenced to meowing, and which was probably her way of protecting us and saying, "It's me made all that noise coming and going." And then I got up and we ran. We're running to the camp, and I fell down in the mud with the sign, and it was wonderful. It was one of those great things. I was just going to say, my unwedding, yes, I had gotten a divorce, but I never felt I had had closure on it all. And we had an unwedding, and we had unbrides and ungrooms. And I still have the net out there that was our veil that we wore. And we had bundles of wildflowers. We were going to decorate the fence and convert it to this wonderful, happy occasion. And of course it rained. Why does it always rain when we do something magnificent? But there were some of us. I remember Mike. Mike was an unpriest because she went to Catholic school or something. But we all promised to love, honor, and cherish ourselves. That was the oath that we gave there at the truck gate, mind you, of course. And we started like putting flowers in the fence and throwing some over. And this big old guard comes trundling up at us. He says, "Don't you be throwing your paraphernalias over the fence." So we all cracked up with the paraphernalias. And we said, "No, we won't do that." So we left. But it was fun. But I gave my actual wedding band to whoever, I forget, Leanne maybe, to get whatever they could for it. And I put by then Benjamin had passed away, so I put my everyday wedding ring with him. Benjamin was my favorite, and Jasmine was no slouch. I mean, but he was the one I really knew out of all of them. Kind of had something with him, I guess, from crying on him and him being there with me. Of course, any other time I went to see him, he ignored me, but that's fine. Well, there was a new life, whole new life. Tarot cards. I had messed with them in college, but I put them away until I found the woman piece, is it? And now I have a few other ones now, tarot decks. And crystals. Oh my God, crystals. I learned about them and what they could do for you. And I learned what a lesbian was. I never really bumped into any, you know. Just never knew. But it was fun, and what was good was I could talk to anyone, no matter how radical or how wimpy they were. They were wonderful. We could share so much and talk so much. You know, Samoa and I were the far ends of the spectrum, but I could write to her, and I name a canary after her, and share, and Woody Blue. We just talked about Cleveland because I thought it was a silly city. I don't know who told me that she was really radical and exclusionist and whatnot, and no men and all this, but I love her. I still do. It was fun. Samoa's not afraid. Samoa goes ahead. She stands up. She speaks out. Samoa does. I am more like the little mouse that kind of scurries behind the scenes. And I'm afraid of soldiers. I'm afraid of guards. I'm afraid of the depot, basically. When you come down to it, I am afraid of the depot, but I love it. But Samoa, it was just part of a day. And I don't know, was she held in a Waterloo? See, I could never do that. I could never do it, and I could never get caught with the sign.
But you did. The action of going to get the sign, it was you who wanted the sign.
Well, if I wanted it, I guess I had to go get it. I was hoping you'd say, I'll get you one.
And thank you.
And bring it to me while I say dry in the house.
Oh, but so that was one of the messages of the camp, though.
You can do it, and we'll help you. We'll be there,
Will.
support you, pick you up if you fall down, and well, of course, can't kill the spirit, you know. It got to be kind of wearing on the nerves for most people. I still love it. I still love it. Or like, what's the one? Listen to my heart song. I have the recording of the Peace Camp sings. I still have that here. I found there were 2 songbooks. I didn't know that. There was one that was 8.5 by 11, but the first year there's a little small one, a little red cover on it, and I had forgotten that until I was going through my memory collection of Peace Camp things. It was great, and I had never heard these songs ever, so I was total virgin, you know, basically in the peace movement. So hearing these songs and radical stuff and Average Dyke Band and all that, it was wonderful. It was all new. It was just all new. I felt like a new person. I felt like a baby being introduced to things, and I was open. Definitely open for it.
What do you think it was about you or your upbringing that you would be open to this whole new thing?
My father taught me it doesn't hurt to ask, and you know, to say what you mean, say what you think. You might get some feedback, but it's okay. It's okay as long as you stay with what you believe in. So I thank my father, actually. I know that's not a separatist thing to do, but I think because my mother's an egotist, so I got nothing from her. However, yeah, he kind of told me it's okay. And he was actually proud of me that I climbed the fence. Because I was there one Christmas and my cousin the Colonel was there, and my father had to bring it up that I climbed this fence, that I did something radical. Well, I think my husband knew he was out, because I was going up there every weekend and whatnot, and I remember one time something about wanting to be held, or and he said something to the effect that you'd probably rather be held by Peace Camp women. Yeah, that's right. It's not get held and then have sex. It's held like have a hug. It was very, very different. And it also, the peace movement in general, because my husband's family was rather conservative, and he was too. And here I am going off to New York in '82 and Peace Camp '83 and Norway and Sweden, et cetera, at '84, and just going. So it was in '85 I had the divorce. Things were pretty bad when we're playing games with the army and all. It was pretty bad. It was a little scary. Do you remember when I was up there and they slashed the tires? Boy, do I remember that. It turns out it was a kid, right, that did that?
Yeah.
I was so scared, though. I was so scared. And they shot another time they shot an arrow. Yeah, so there were things going on there that I never got accustomed to. The time I was up there for the week, Leanne and I woke up one morning and we both had the same thing, like this terrible fear, you know, this iciness around the heart, like something terrible is going to happen or something bad, somebody's thinking bad things. Well, that's what she explained it as, so sure. Yeah, it was scary in some ways to be there. And knowing in '83, so many people were against us up there. And there was a lot of misunderstanding who we were and what we were doing there. But in the early days when we were probably doing the most work, it was, you never quite were sure what was going to happen. And like I say, there were the pointed flagpoles with jabbing at us. John Wilson was the colonel at the depot at this time. And I remember on the fence, there was a sign for, this is a civil defense place and shelter here. And I wrote to him, I said, can civilians go in there? And they took the sign down next time I was up there. So it was no more nuclear fallout shelter. This is my band and bar letter from '83. And it says that I'm not allowed to go back in there. unless I'm invited. And then not a few years ago, when I was up at the camp, we went over. They were trying to rent out the officer housing. Remember that?
we went.
We went. So we went back in anyway.
We went and applied for housing.
We did apply for housing. Yes, the officer housing. Of course, we'll be glowing in the dark within a week, but that's okay. You know.
So you have posters.
I have a couple posters here from the camp. Look at this.
Oh my God. What was it?
With a spot on it, of course, but
What was its original color? You wore that one to death.
I did. I love this one. Look at this. It's coming apart here. I love this T-shirt, and I have never thrown it out. And I have worn it on certain occasions when I was particularly frustrated with the world. I wore my peace camp.
Can you see it from there? It is so worn, it's almost faded away.
With love. And I have one button that is the original button.
Oh, that's
It wasn't the same for me. And it was just a different way of life, different people, different everything. It really was. I think a lot of the energy came from the women that were there as well. You know, that kind of made me feel so good up there. Because I was accepted. Even though I wasn't a, radical dyke or anything? Or separatist but I felt good, and I made friends with people and could just sit around and talk. Later, it wasn't, there'd be only maybe 3 people there or something. And then there was a time with what the heck was that thing? That male that said he was a woman inside trying to get out. That's when I freaked. That's why I said no. Because he wanted to go in the house, and some women wanted to let him in everything because he was actually a she. And I was like adamantly opposed because we'd fought so long to have a place for ourselves. And I just could not trust, he's still pre-surgical, whatever you want to call him. It was very difficult. They were thinking about doing things that had changed, or like maybe having a steak. We could never have meat in the house, or even on the land necessarily. It was very different. It became almost like a summer cottage. Instead of, we were always doing something. We were building. We were making the boardwalk. We were picking up things or talking. Or there's a beautiful picture I have, someone holding a sign saying, would you stop and talk? So it became very different for me. Just couldn't quite be the same as the peace camp. I took a nap. What was the thing called? The triangle room?
Yeah.
Because the triangles were supposed to protect us, et cetera, et cetera. And I just fell asleep. And then when I went downstairs, I had the indoor sunburn. And then that day and the next day, I got so sick. I got so incredibly sick. I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't keep my eyes open. A pounding, splitting headache. And it became a topic of conversation that it just might be the zapping that they got me. We were thinking that they were sending some kind of rays over to the house, which they might very well have been, trying out war tactic things. Because we had the feeling that they had the house bugged and all, and they did. I also had a picture taken of my neck, but there was never anything more to it. You know, nobody would believe me. It's the same with all of us that got zapped, I guess. They think, oh, you just have a bad stomach, or you have a headache, or you have a flu or something. But it was bad. It was real bad. So I guess I'd always hoped maybe it would come back. Maybe a new batch of women. That's what we were always talking about, get the younger women involved. And we never could. I don't know why I thought we would, or there some miracle, or I was looking forward to when we'd have a bunch of little domes built on the land and have some goats and sheep to mow the lawn. Lots of comfrey growing, lots of jewelweed, all kinds of great herbs and spices, etc. And maybe even take one of my cats and pretend that she only has 3 feet. It's such a wonderful place, and the land, we did so much to convert it, to make it women's land, to make it a healed place. Because the first year was horrible. No offense to stuff, but it was nasty up there. The ground was so dry. There were cracks, like running. You felt like you were in a desert somehow without the sand. Yes, and there were these giant jumping spiders come out of the cracks. It was between that and I know you had a 3-seater, but it could still get kind of nasty, you know, if you're not used to it. And especially that winter when I was there, that was I must say I was a lot stronger than I thought. I have not outgrown the Peace Camp. I love it. To this day, I love it. To this day, I want to go to the truck gate. And I did go past and see the truck gate, of course, last time I was up there. So I go up to Geneva every year for this conference and stop by at least to the truck gate, or this time I took some pictures of the land. I wish I could go live on the land. I always thought if I had enough money, I'd buy that house and I would put indoor plumbing first. Heat second, okay? You know, and then I'll take care of the roof, one thing at a time, but first the plumbing and then the heat. I just think it's a wonderful old house. Seneca stone is, this is a small one, this little bitty thing here. They usually are bigger, but they're only found at Seneca, at Lake Seneca for some reason. They are in other places, but to me, it actually happened when the earth was being formed. And spirits were dancing and cavorting about. And when it was, they were ready to do the earth and finish up, you know, get done. And the spirits didn't want to stop, and so some of them got stuck, and they got stuck inside of rocks. And this is where one came out, you see. It's a place you could be mystical, a place where you can believe fiction or make your own. And we weren't asking for it, and we didn't expect it. It was a gift, and a beautiful gift. Some kind of a spiritual change came over me. Started seeing things differently. Didn't stopped being so impressed with clothes or jewelry or whatever. Big change not wanting to really go to a big restaurant or anything and wanting to get rid of my husband. It kind of took me like one of those snow things, and it shook me all up, and well, the snow was falling. I was just kind of picking little bits and pieces, and you know, a crystal there and little herbs there and tarot and journaling. It's still a very strong connection, and it's a connection I'll never forget.